Hello, 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 and welcome to the Board Game Design Variety Hour, number 15. I'm your host, Matthew Dunstan. Thanks very much for joining me today on a chillier and chillier December evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world. Hope this stream finds you well, as all the as all emails have to start this year with. I hope you're well and safe, but I honestly do hope that wherever you are watching this, you're doing well. Have had a good day or about to have a good day. I myself am settling back with a cup of tea and with you fine folks to chat a bit about game design and various bits and bobs. Hey Rob, how you going? Hey Zate. Nice to see you both. Thanks very much for joining. So how's respective days been? I unfortunately missed Bez's stream this morning with David King, which I was really annoyed about. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the whole thing in proper, but for those who don't know, well, actually, I guess Rob and Zay both know as the only watchers at the moment, that David King's the designer of Tiny Islands, the game I was playing on stream last Friday, among some other games, and really love his work. So it was, I'm looking forward to seeing his kind of design ideas and practice and that sort of thing. So what are you folks up to this afternoon? David was a great guest, not someone I knew for. Yeah, I had a very limited raid coming. Should we batten down the hatches? Quick. No. Hi Robert, how you going? I think I had a very brief Twitter conversation with him, like when I first discovered Tiny Islands, and I thought it was really great. And I'm always interested in people who aren't board game designers who make board game-like kind of games. It's also a reason I love Arnold Rauer's Tiny Touch Tales work, because when you bring like a digital kind of thought process and game design and apply it to sort of more like analog style or board games style kind of things, it's quite cool. I don't know where all the here we go. Hey Hub Games, hey Rory, how you going? Hi Michael. Hope you all are well. Hi David, we've got to worry about these raiders. What will we do with them? We will design a maze from which they will never escape. You know, kind of Inception style. Maybe that's what we should be doing. How was the stream? I very briefly popped in and had a look and saw the you were playing Holding On or on Tabletop Simulator. It looks like. Which looked cool. But I didn't want to keep watching because I haven't played it yet, and I don't want to kind of spoil anything for myself. I'm sort of waiting for the right time to just kind of enjoy being. Experience it. So I hope it's going well. For those who more like wrecking, testing some raw variants. Okay, cool. For those who aren't following Hub Games, we are Hub Games. Give them a follow. Great folks, Rory and Michael, and publisher of great games. We're working on a few things. We were working on a design together. Hopefully, we'll still keep working on a design together going into the new year. But they're very, very fine people. So give them a follow if you haven't already. Zay hasn't played Holding On, The Troubled Life of Billy Curry, gathered that there's a guy called Billy. That's so good. Well, exactly. Well, did you? Oh, yeah. Well, of course so Michael and I were both watching, as I'm sure maybe some other people in the stream, we were watching Eurovision again on Saturday evening, where one of my personal favorites, Greta Salome, I don't know how to say her last name, from Iceland, was crowned the public winner of entries that never got past the semi-finals, but it was a lot of fun. And I think I still wonder if my enjoyment of it is even more of Michael's Twitter tweeting during the event, right? More than even the actual event. But it was a lot of fun. Hi Bram, how you going? And Mandela's here. Whoops, that was Mandela. How you going? And Jay, and hi everyone. No, thanks very much for joining. So I did make the joke about Dustin the Turkey to Michael, and he was not impressed. For those who don't know, I would encourage you right now, go away from the stream, YouTube Dustin the Turkey, Eurovision, I believe it was 2013. Michael can correct me. It's definitely on the kind of top spoof kind of Eurovision entries. Would thoroughly recommend. And I didn't actually know that. Irlande 12 points, which is sort of a spoof on the like Ireland getting 12 points at Eurovision, which is quite funny. Whoops. Maybe I might need to. Who would like to be a mod? I've got to remember how to do this. How do I make people mods? They found us. Yes, the raiders let them in here. Okay, how do I make you a mod? So, I will happily do it. And Nicola, yeah, anyone and everyone's welcome to be a mod. I've just got to work out how to actually do it. If anyone in the you type moderate. Oh, right. Okay, great. Perfect. I shall do that. You can tell. Obvious professional here. Obvious professional. I can't see this, so hold on. Okay. Okay. Oh, no, that didn't work. Create a dashboard. Oh, community. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Roles, add new. Great. Great watching for everybody, I'm sure. Save. Hopefully. Okay, hopefully there are. I've made Nicholas and Nate as moderators, so hopefully that works. Cool. Thanks very much. So I would recommend going off and watching Dust of the Turkey anyway. And Michael, did you know we found that we then wandered down the rabbit hole of looking at other Dust and the Turkey videos, because have you seen his Christmas tree one? Where he's Dust and Turkey selling off Christmas trees. Would also highly recommend that one. Unexpected pleasure it was. Yeah. But anyway, so today on the stream, two games. We're going to chat a little bit about some links and news and all that sort of good stuff, as always. As it's probably either the second last or third last. I won't be streaming on Friday because it's Christmas. I probably will be streaming next Monday, but then I think that probably means that this is the second last stream for 2020. So I thought I might start the kind of like look back on 2020 kind of thing, and hopefully I can get my phone to mirror onto the stream. So I thought I'd go through a little bit about like how I track my prototypes and playing on Board Game Stats. And just look at like kind of what I've been playing, and also chat a bit about looking back, I guess, what I did with prototypes, because it's sort of funny that especially this year, I guess, you so quickly forget things that happened even like a month ago, let alone 12 months ago. So I think it could be quite an interesting look back to kind of see like where I actually spent my time working on games, and I'll chat a little bit about those sort of projects and things. So that's kind of the idea. And if I get the mirroring working as well, then I also might show off the current working prototype of the app game that I'm working on with Arnold Rowers, which we've got a current version, which is quite fun at the moment, although remarkably unbalanced. So you'll see some crazy combos going on there. Robert says, some years ago, friends and I tried designing a freeform Eurovision game where players were trading cards and lyrics, staging and voting for each other. The idea was either win or to come last. Yeah, you've got to win either way, I guess. No, I think, Michael and I have talked a lot about having, someday making some sort of Eurovision game. I think some of our ideas have been mainly around combining different elements, sort of like trope elements, like certain costume or props or song, kind of devices or things like that. And that you either draft and put them all together and like almost present them to the other players as like, this is my Eurovision act. And then you get like a public vote and you see who sort of wins. Nicholas, making it rather free form for the Eurovision game seems to fit how things can change along the way in the contest. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember when like the Czech entry a couple of years ago, like almost broke his back in the middle of the, like during rehearsals, and that definitely he had to change his act because he was sort of backflipping through the things before. Hi, Alex, how are you going? Afternoon. Oh, I see. I guess you've been seeing each other elsewhere thus far. So yeah, news and that kind of stuff. Well, and thanks to all the followers. There've been I think sort of 10 new followers over the last week. So thank you very much, everybody who's following the channel. And if anyone who's new in the chat today, thanks very much for joining along. Feel free to chat and say what you like. Ask any questions anytime. Always very welcome. So that's been really good on the channel. I still haven't done any kind of updating on terms of like making it look a little bit more nicer. I've got my brother on the job, but in the new year there'll be a great new unveiling, I hope, of something that looks a little bit better. Yeah. Oh yes. So Robert, so a lyrics like "see some more" would be worth more points if you also had a Velcro skirt card. Nice. I think it would just be so much fun just making up all the different cards, of all the different kind of things that we've seen in Eurovision. I think that would be a lot of fun. How are we Twitch neighbors, Alex? Were you streaming just before me? I didn't know you were streaming, but or neighbors in viewing, I guess maybe. Yeah. Yes. Well done to the new moderators. Thank you very much. Those bots were particularly pernicious this time. So yeah, and in actual like game design news, not a lot's happened since Friday. Everything is kind of winding down anyway, so that's fairly unsurprising. I did do a kind of a cool interview sort of for Cardboard Edison, which is available, and I'll sort of share a snippet of it. I'm aware that it's part of their. Whoops, we're on the wrong one. It's part of their like kind of omnibus newsletter. So for those who don't know, Cardboard Edison is part. If you're a Patreon supporter at a certain level, you get a weekly newsletter with like lots of links and interviews and things like that. And so I did sort of an interview for them. Funnily enough, talking a little bit about design communities, in part streaming and Twitch, and my own kind of short but really positive experience with streaming and the kind of communities, and it's a perfect timing for people to be talking about, we're always bumping into each other in Twitch Town, and it's a good crowd. And I found that really, I mean, quite sincerely, I'm still amazed that there are lots of really great people who have actually, some I've never met in person, but you feel like you're slowly getting to know them in the Twitch crowd, and it's so nice that people still drop in and watch my ramblings. So thank you all for that. And yeah, so if you're interested, and this is maybe just a little bit of advertisement, I guess, for Cardboard Edison's Omnibus, if you might be interested. So I think they try to have some article or interview, and then they'll have some links from the week, to various interesting, threads on Twitter or things on Board Game Geek or, podcasts or things like that you might find interesting. And they really do range from like designers, publishers, distributors, all sorts of things. Some cool quotes from designers. And then there's, like other things like Twitter threads. They've got the link to Tony's blog post about IPs that I talked about last week. So a lot of interesting things, and I found some links in here that I hadn't, I myself hadn't seen. So that was quite cool. Hey, so Crafty, how you going? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, and then they've got various things from the archives, and yeah, so there's like a lot packed in. It's like quite a what's the word, like very rich source of information in such a short space. So yeah, so support Cardboard Edison on Patreon, and you get access to this. They've got a lot of other interesting kind of things, like a publisher database as well, that you can see what publishers are looking for submissions and things like that. So would heartily recommend. And yeah, no, thanks to you all for making this new community very welcoming for me, and I've enjoyed really being a part of it. So that's one sort of thing. In terms of a few other things, I just wanted to give a quick shout out. I'm sure actually in this Twitch community, there are some good people around this too. We shouldn't be too broad stroke with it. But another really great person is Ross, More Games Please, which I'm sure quite a few of the viewers already know. But Ross is a fantastic streamer. He's a board game photographer, professional board game photographer, and just all-round excellent fellow. And he is running a fundraiser for Shelter, which is a charity in the UK that helps out, for people with, housing or who are homeless. And he's sort of 71% towards his goal of £2,000. I'd really recommend anybody who can support this in any very small way, even a pound or two, all helps. And if you watch him on stream, I know he's giving giveaways throughout the month. And he's streaming tonight. He starts at 7 p.m. GMT. So he's, a really fantastic person. So as Michael said, Ross is entirely tolerable. And I'd say he's, and exactly, he's a great ambassador for the Twitch board game community. So give him a follow if you haven't. So it's More Games Please, where please is just PLS. Just thought I'd just kind of put that out. And I'm sure, many might have already supported him, but just in case you haven't seen it. What have I missed in chat? Zay, no, haven't seen in my old in real life friends either, and more contact the Twitch friends I have made in lockdown. That's true. It is a sort of a different, like for me actually, because I've essentially moved countries during lockdown and farther away from any friends I had before. It really has been, my new friend group in a way, which is really nice. Alex saying, I was considering joining the Cardboard Edison Patreon on higher pleasures. They offer blind playtesting and rulebook editing as well as other benefits. Oh, that's true. I haven't looked in detail at all the. Maybe I should actually just bring up the. We can show off the Edison. Just quickly search for it. Surely their Patreon must be here somewhere. Maybe I should just need to put Patreon or something. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, they've got 7 levels. So this is where you get at $5 a month, you get this omnibus, which is the newsletter I was just showing. The compendium is this board game publisher directory, and then yes, they have sort of monthly blind playtests of your game, professional copy editing, 1-hour consultations about games. These seem to be limited, so maybe I'm not sure if there's a way to get access to them, but if you get in early in a month, maybe someone else has dropped out or something like that. But they are excellent. Chris and Suzanne, excellent people as well. So this should just be, I should just rename this stream like the stream of excellent people and telling them to say hi. What have I missed here? Zay won a game on Ross's stream, getting photosynthesis. Excellent. Yeah, it's a really nice game, actually. I think it's a really interesting combination of theme and mechanism. And it's sort of I love these kind of more real world themes that more and more games are kind of exploring. I think that's a really interesting kind of space. And when you have a mechanism, so for those who don't know photosynthesis, you have a board where the sun is moving around and you're growing trees. And basically trees that can see the sun are going to grow, and that's going to give you points. But that kind of how the sun is sort of traveling around and how that affects growth. It's really interesting kind of combination of theme and things going on. Abstract strategy game about tree shadows. I really thought there would be a 2020 hindsight pun somewhere. There will be sometime, I'm sure. There's a lot of value in giving slightly more in-depth shout-outs for people who do excellent things, so keep on it. Okay, thank you, Rob. I don't know, like, I mean, I'm sure half the audience have either heard of these things or I talk about them all the time. So, but hopefully useful for those who haven't heard of them anyway. And the last kind of shout out I wanted to give was the Think Like a Game Designer podcast by Justin Gary. Justin Gary is an amazing game designer and publisher. He is maybe best known for his designer of Ascension and the publisher of Ascension as well. He also did a lot of work on Magic the Gathering, World of Warcraft TCG, I believe, Upper Deck, worked on various projects with them. Really experienced designer in TCGs and other sort of things. Has a great podcast called Think Like a Game Designer, available on Apple Podcasts and probably some other places. And I've generally been keeping on with with what he's been doing, and I really enjoyed it. Had a great interview, the most recent one with Rob Daviau, where they actually went quite in depth to some things to think about when designing legacy games. As someone myself who has toyed with the idea of designing legacy games on and on, well, who hasn't, I guess, over the past few years. It was really interesting. Like, I think Justin, because of his experience in the industry, he really asked, I think, a different set of questions to maybe other interviewers. So there's, I think, something kind of unique to be gained. I'm always looking for podcasts that are giving, a new spin on interviewing people in the industry, interviewing designers, and I think he does a really great job. So would recommend, if you enjoy listening to podcasts and that sort of thing, check him out. Also a really good one with Scott Gaeta, who's the founder of Renegade Games, which is also like a very different kind of perspective of someone who worked in a few other industries before they worked in games, and how that kind of influenced how they thought about being a publisher and things like that. Hey, Rory, how are you going? Welcome. I saw you put your own game in your top 9 games of the year. It's very, very bold. But it's that kind of the year again when there are all these top 10s and things. I hear top 10 lists are very popular, so maybe I should do a top 10 mechanisms or something or something like that of 2020. But that's about the news for today, or people to follow and things to do. So now I am going to try. So we're going to try and do a bit of a look back on, kind of games played, but also sort of prototypes that I was sort of working on, and give a bit of an idea of like what, it might be interesting because you might see just how little I actually playtest. And I must say, it's probably a slight underestimate because I'm still not great at tracking all playtests and things like that. But I found it really useful. So I use Board Game Stats, I think it's called, as probably people do, to track my plays. And after seeing Bruno Cathala, I think, track his prototypes in it as well, I started doing that this year as well. So we're going to have to see. It's going to be a bit of a experiment because I don't have the best setup for everything. So everyone's going to have to kind of bear with me, I think. What I will do is I will stop doing that. That's fine. I found the way that you can apparently run QuickTime if you're sort of on Apple devices. You can share your the screen of your iPhone by essentially trying to do a movie recording on QuickTime, and then it sort of mirrors the phone. So let's see how this works. Okay, so that keeps trying to do that. So it's going to be a bit. Okay, let's see if I can share the screen. This. Okay, so you're going to have to let me know how this kind of looks. Okay, that's a little bit. Maybe I'll try and make it. Oh, it's about the same size, I guess. So this is the Board Game Stats app and my current home page. Ah, yes. Turn off push notifications. I don't have many notifications. So hopefully we're going to be okay. Let's see how we go. And yes, definitely should allow your own things that you want to celebrate. No, that's true. And I think that's an absolute point to not forget in all of this. So anyway, I mean, you can see sort of the top line statistics. I have no idea how small these numbers are. Robert works as a app dev, so record my screen to show things working and then redo it. I have to redo it when someone messages you. Okay, so you know all the kind of like the foibles and things like that. But let's see how this works. I'm still on this sort of strange world, getting used to everything working. Anyway, so the top line stat is currently, with about 10 days left in the year, I'm almost at 650 plays. So almost yeah, I'll read out the numbers so that you don't have to look at the really small things. It's more kind of reference for me, I guess. Yeah, so I might get to 2 games a day on average, which is not too bad, I guess. As you can see, I was talking about Point Salad last week. It's my most played game at 62. So, you know, that's about yeah, it's actually about 10% of my players have been one game, which is a bit crazy. So Crafty, I'll get to your question. Yeah, can you, if you hang around, I'll address the question maybe after this, because we're sort of in the middle of this, and I'm very bad once I get onto a tangent, then I forget what I'm doing. And while this is working, I want to try and do this. I do log my digital. Well, no, I try to. Although I have to admit, for prototypes, I do on Tabletop Simulator. If I play an app, I sometimes log it. Sometimes I don't. But it's a bit 50-50. Yeah, I'm not like an absolute like fanatic on logging, so I probably am under logging a little bit, but I've tried to be pretty good. But anyway, the thing is, I think I can search for, if I go to games and then go to prototypes, maybe if I search, let me search, filter, proto. So yeah, so this is basically I call all my prototypes proto and then something. So this gives a bit of an idea about roughly how many times I played. I don't know how I would exactly break this down more. So yeah, and so I've got 39 different prototypes which I play tested this year. So that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of how many different games I might work on. You know, so but yeah, so it's interesting. And yeah, some of these, like, you know, this Ancestry game, you know, I played a grand sum of once. And then never again. So, you know, there are some games which you try once and it never happens. Other games, you know, have done much better. For example, we were working on this so Emergency Roll, which is a roll and write for Dice Hospital, which has been announced and will be part of a Kickstarter next year. I've got 7 plays of this. I have a feeling I've probably played it more than 7 times because we play tested it quite a bit on Tabletop Simulator, and I'm still not very good about logging that. But that's, I guess these numbers are more just for a comparison rather than an absolute number. We've devolved back into chocolate again after all that was happening on Bez's stream this morning. Say, well, you're able to get some chocolate today at least, or have you melted out of chocolate? Yeah, yeah. So I'm just trying to look through and maybe see. I don't know if anyone has questions. If something sort of comes up that you're sort of, I don't know, wondering about or about the kind of the process or that game sounds interesting. What happened to that? Do let me know. I've been trying a lot to make like a Splendor style game. So there was this kind of this area Splendor game that I was working on for a little while, mostly playing it solo, but I can't quite crack it. It's something you know, for me, it's still kind of a Grail style game that I haven't been able to kind of work out, you know, something of that that style of Splendor, the kind of speed of it, the kind of simplicity of it, but I haven't really been able to crack that nut. Nicholas asks, are most of those prototypes collaborations? That is a great question. I can very quickly. So Amazing Race is a collaboration. Yeah, so Amazing Race collaboration with Brett. So it's a short, like a speed card game where you're like getting tickets from location to location, and you're trying to get kind of around the world journey before anyone else kind of manages their own around the world journey. Like there's just all the tickets are kind of spread out face down in the table, and you're just grabbing cards and swapping them out as fast as you can. That's one that we kind of actually finished. I mean, it's one of these ideas with the kind of these simpler games, like they either work or they don't. And this thankfully seemed to be quite fun, although playing a kind of a fast-paced, you know, a fast-paced kind of game on Tabletop Simulator is a bit weird. Yeah. So Ancestry was a collaboration. Yeah, so most of these are collaborations, although I have to admit, certainly more this year were solo designs than in a normal year. So for example, the Splendor game was a solo design, which didn't work. And the last time I played it was in April, so you can tell that what hasn't happened. Bretland, yes, Rob, it is called Bretland, but it's based on like the Viking name for Britain, because I was trying to make a multi-card use kind of game based around Vikings and building. So you would have on one side you'd have like a building or a person, the other side you'd have an island. So you would have a map that you'd be kind of exploring, but the cards had double use, so you could sometimes be exploring this island, or you could be playing the cards in kind of an engine building kind of way. It's something I still really quite like as an idea, but I couldn't quite nail the mechanisms. And I guess this may be a common theme, where I'll just say I couldn't quite nail it. And there are some other. I'm just trying to have a look here. Yeah, but they're not so many. Yeah, actually, there's not that many solo designs. As I look through here, there aren't actually that many more that would be considered solo designs, and some are, old designs which I'm trying to, still trying to work on. Like for example, this Villagers game is actually a very old prototype, like from 2013, I think Brett and I designed it, and it's been with multiple publishers, and we had one publisher was kind of interested in it, and it's kind of a tile laying engine building kind of game, and they wanted something a little bit more interesting. So I was trying to work on some new ways to do it. I have a playable version now, but I've reached the point, actually it's a new feeling where I actually don't know whether I want to keep working on it. It's a playable game, it works well, but it's just been so much through the ringer that maybe actually if you're interested, I can show it. I'll remind me, Villagers. I can show it a little bit later when I'm not on this. There was actually, well, funny you talk about worker placement. There is actually, so it's a combined. So you have your own. Everyone has their own tableau. You're putting new tiles on that tableau, and you have a person that wanders around the tableau, activating tiles as they walk onto them. So that's the sort of central pitch of the game. I can show you something a bit more in a bit. Rob says, I feel so relieved seeing your working titles. I feel better about my own titles. Yeah, I am particularly unimaginative when talking about my own games. As you can say, proto points and goals. I wonder what that could be. And actually that is a bit of a problem because I sort of, then it's hard to sort of forget. Had a really good game. I'll have to show this as well on stream sometime. This game called Patronage. It's a new co-designer. So his name's Douglas Kaufman, who's actually owns a board game cafe here in Prague. And we met at Essen a few years ago. And we had a really fun time kind of working on a, engine building card game, which is kind of should be my middle name. It's the sort of the style of game I enjoy the most. I see there's a lot of Brett style jokes going on here. Let's not forget Charming Steve. Oh yes, exactly. I forgot Charming Steve. Or am I remembering this right joke? Because there's an old game where somebody's called Charming Steve. The chat is remembering the memes better than I am. So yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm not sure what this is really showing in terms of, I'm a bit lost. If there's this particular thing, I mean, also I realize I should do a better job of showing prototypes or things I'm working on the stream. Partially, I'm a little bit worried that Tabletop Simulator will melt my computer when I try and run it at the same time as a stream. But yeah, I can work on ways to do that. But anyway, 37, what was it? 39 prototypes in the year. And it's really 38 because I have one category, which is like prototypes of other designers, which I just put when I am playtesting somebody else's game. I just put it under this other designer. I don't bother making a new entry or anything like that, which I guess is telling me how much I went to playtesting sessions this year. Actually, which is pretty good, realistically, I think, like considering the year it's been. That I've even, in the middle of the year, I was lucky enough to be able to go to an in-person, weekly or fortnightly playtesting group in Prague. So that was really good. So that's kind of that. Just think other things. Iron Almanac is if anyone has seen Tony Boydell's blog, we're working on a card game, kind of a card game version of Snowdonia, where every card is like a different railway in the UK. And you're trying to build a certain number of railways. And it takes some of the similar concepts of Snowdonia, like laying track and clearing rubble, but it's basically a card-based, completely card-based. It had a kind of like a roll and write kind of feel with cards, and we might even be replacing the dice with cards now. Alex says, so that's one every 9 to 10 days. Yeah, I should have probably done some statistics. Yeah, 30. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, exactly, something like that. I mean, I should say, of course, like, this is not some of these games I'd started before this year. So it's more like one or two a month, I guess, is maybe a rate for starting a new prototype. I mean, of course, and this is more than like all the ideas I had this year, because there are a bunch of ideas that are just in my notes program, which I've never, done anything, with, essentially. So, yeah. So that's what we're up to at the moment. And in terms of actual games, I feel like hold on. How do I find plays? Overview. Insights, probably. So what have been my most played, and this in terms of not actual design, like, not designs and story. Point Salad really up there. Race for the Galaxy is a game I play, one of my favorite games, but I play with somebody at work. So actually those plays are even in the kind of brief time I was in Cambridge in January and February, actually, before all this happened. And I played once or twice. We played online afterwards, which I've logged when I can. But yeah, we would play like once or twice a day, essentially. So that's why. Played a lot of Circle the Wagons this year. I picked that up. Like, I bought a lot of new games in March, and quite a few of these. And Grand Austria Hotel, probably my favorite favorite Euro game, probably, which we managed to play. And it's all 2-player, just me and Terezi, 21 times this year. Very much looking forward to the expansion which should come next year. Which, it's an amazing game already, but and we're slowly working our way through all the kind of Italian, that kind of Italian kind of school of design, which I've been enjoying. Metro X, really great roll and write, flip and fill, I guess. A really great production from Gamewright. We have the Gamewright edition, which is really great. Yeah, it's oh, whoops, no, I missed. Yeah, love Circle the Wags. Yeah, it's a great conflict light 2-player game. Yeah, I'm amazed by the design. I'd like to try Sprawlopolis, but I'm not as interested in the cooperative kind of thing. So it says my newest game is Twat Tinsuyu. Can't wait to get it played. Yeah, is that the David Turtzi one, or is it not the David Turtzi one? I get kind of confused with all these T titled, Central American, South American kind of games. Robert said Grand Austria Hotel was one of the few games my group stopped playing because we couldn't agree how passing rule worked. Yeah, I have to admit, I looked at some point, I don't know when, was it you who pointed this out to me at some point earlier? Because I remember looking back and because we've never had this problem, because in 2 players, it doesn't come up very much where you have these kind of big discrepancies, because, it's only 2 players play, usually only one person's passed, so it just kind of doesn't have any effect. It's sort of funny that I didn't know that there was this controversy about the passing rule, because, I never, it never came up in 2 players, so we're quite lucky. David says, ignoring legacy game regular sessions, my most played I played 4 times. Yeah, well, I'm just really, I mean, like, this is all with Treasy, mostly the grand majority of it, so I'm very lucky with it. Yeah, I agree. There are some very confusing threads on Board Game Geek. Hopefully, in the new edition, maybe they'll work on the rules a bit. So we're gonna hope about that. And Sprawl Ops is a really good solo. The co-op version is okay. Yeah, no, I've been playing solo games a little bit more and more. I had this a brief thing of trying to play Luxo Turner, which is a really great solo game from Tony Boydell. I was trying to play. In the game, you have system cards. You have there are 6 different systems, and there are 5 possible cards for each system. And I was thinking of trying to play every combination of systems. A game's about 10 minutes. I got into 6 or 7 plays of it. And then sort of fell off it, but that's the one I'd sort of like to play, a bit more and see how it goes. Yeah, and it's good to see at least one prototype of this Metro Roll and Write game, which is the one I signed last week. Most played prototype of the year, and so it's probably not a great surprise that I managed to that I managed to get it finished and managed to sell it. I think that there's obviously a big correlation between games you're happy to keep playtesting, and this one was good because it's fairly simple and easy to get to the table. and so it worked out quite well. Yeah, and I guess just looking down the list, we got through we finished a King's Dilemma campaign this year as well. Maybe one day I'll give some thoughts on King's Dilemma. I'm not sure if don't really want to spoil anything for people, but it's a really interesting system. For me, mechanically, I think it's one of the best kind of narrative mix. Like it's one of the great fusions between mechanics and narrative, I think, even if ultimately the game is a bit of a grind, and we found it maybe was just a little too long. But I love the kind of I love the see you so crafty. Sorry. If you come back later, let me know, and we'll get to your question. Sorry, Rasmus. Hey Rasmus, how are you going? Really want to play Arkham Horror LCG more. Have you tried it yet? No, I haven't. I probably should. I don't know why I haven't. I think it's quite. I mean, it's a bit harder to get here in the Czech Republic because I think it's probably in Czech. I imagine they've done a translation, so it's a bit hard to get the English version. Yeah, and I guess for me, the other kind of thing we found which was really cool or new to me kind of this year was Space Rodent, which we've played 12 times already, and really looking forward to getting the expansion. So yeah, a lot of fun games, and yeah, quite happy to really fortunate to be able to play as many games as we did. And in the end, what is that, like 172 different games this year? So yeah, I'm someone, I think I do have favorite games certainly, but there's a part of me that always, I just want to try lots of different games because I think as a designer, that's the best thing to be able to, try lots of different things, and you get so many ideas by looking at what has been done in other games and things like that. So that's really a lot of fun. Yeah, so I might give that a break. I have to fix up a better kind of way to hold my phone and be able to stream because it's sort of ever so slightly awkward. Let me just get rid of this. Cancel. Oh, I'll get rid of all. Oh yeah, so that should be fine. Yeah. So for those who are watching, what were your top games of the year? What did you particularly enjoy playing? And were there any sort of do you have kind of stats on like prototypes you were playing or designs you worked on and things like that? Have you ever thought about keeping stats? For me, it's interesting. I suppose I'm keeping stats in the kind of belief that it will be useful at some point. I'm not sure if right now it affects me day to day. I don't use it to kind of look, to try and make decisions about what I'm working on. I just sort of follow what I want to do, I guess. In a way, right now it's kind of nice to look back on the games, and it kind of reminds me of certain things that I was sort of working on and what was interesting or not. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's sort of open question. It'll be interesting to see what you folks think or what you've been playing. Yeah, I will have a bit of tea. brief break from chatting. Chat amongst yourselves. Yeah. Robert says, I've never kept stats on BGG, but tend to just tweet everything. So if I want to know when I last played, I search for username and game name. Okay. Does it work very well? Like, is that useful for you to know what you were playing before? Or, are those stats useful, I guess? Rob, I record that I play prototypes, but I don't have separate entries each. Just the BGG unpublished prototype entry. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think, if you're kind of just keeping it as part of the overall stats, then I think that's fair enough. And like if it's through BGG, then that's the easier way. I mean, I find the board game stats app really great because it's so easy just to make a new game just in the app. You don't have to worry about making an entry on BGG or anything like that, which is really great. Rory, I gave up stats this year when we stopped being able to go to gaming groups. Kind of bumming me out how little I was playing comparatives last year. That's true. I mean, actually, interestingly enough, I only restarted at the start of this year. I did maybe keep stats, I think in like 2017 or 2018 for about a year, and then I kind of fell off the wagon. So I don't have a comparison, which is quite lucky. But yeah, as I said, I guess the majority of my playing is sort of at home anyway. So I'm just thankful for it at the moment. I don't know how long it will sort of go into the future, and maybe I'll have more responsibilities and things like that. So I have to see. Rasmus, the ski game with Trevor, been grinding that all year and finally sends it off to Rasmus. Yeah, so Rasmus, for those who don't know, Rasmus is another designer in the Cambridge group, or is back in Copenhagen now, but has an amazing, really cool ski game where you are building like a ski resort, and you've got like 3D kind of tiles that you're building up little mountains, and you've got these great laser cut kind of like routes that are like stepping down the mountain kind of hexes, and you see all these different routes, like black and red and blue routes, like tracing down a mountain. It's a really cool game, and like the concept is amazing, and so much work in terms of actually making the prototype. Rasmus is like a make space kind of like 3D printer laser cutter genius. So yeah, I'm really glad that, fingers crossed that it goes well with Rasmus. Yeah, I mean, I guess you won't hear much over Christmas, but fingers crossed for next year. Zate, I played equal amounts last year, just way less in real life, and I don't track digital games or play long streams. I didn't realize how much this would be new normal. I would have, yeah. I mean, it just depends why how useful, like what the stats are useful or not. I think if it makes sense to you to track it or not to track it, then it's just what's actually useful. Or I think I like it's actually really just around this time I like looking back and seeing what I played a lot. I do. And sometimes when I'm playing with Treasy, we sort of reflect back, especially maybe some of the like longer Euros that we only play like once every month or 2 months or something. It's nice to kind of see how we're going head to head more than anything else, which is sort of fun. Jay, I'm really not sure what to use it for, but for prototypes, I can see how it might make sense. I think so. I think if you're balancing a certain number of prototypes, I think that can be useful. It can also be useful if you are really doing detailed kind of testing. It is a place to keep the stats about scores and things like that, because there are a lot of kind of automatic features in like average scores and things like that, which could be from a balancing perspective quite useful when you're working on like one project. And it's an easy way to kind of record those details digitally. I mean, of course, you can put it in notebooks and things like that, but I think that is definitely one quite good use for it, I would say. And maybe just seeing how much you're working on things, maybe it gives you, I'm kind of always interested in it. It's interesting through the stream when I go back over old prototypes, even having a reason to look back and see what you're working on. Sometimes is a nice way to kind of like, it's like the equivalent of like a spring cleaning of your mind, where you might have had designs you put on the back burner, and then suddenly, because you're kind of turning things over and like refreshing that memory. You don't know what you might think. Like, we were talking about this like Space Fighter dice game on stream last week, and I was having ideas already how to turn it into a roll and write game. Thanks to stream. So that was cool. Robert, I'd like to know if I've played something before, and if I gave an opinion of it, which often changes. Oh, okay, that's quite. So do you? And, oh yes, because of course on Twitter you're writing like a tweet about what you experienced for the game. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. It's interesting to look back. Yeah, that's true, because you kind of forget your initial impressions. You only really remember what the most recent way you think about a game generally. It's hard to remember like how things might have changed, which is interesting. For me, I think that the interesting thing that I do remember a bit better is, especially where games where I had some preconception before I played them, and I remember like, oh, I never wanted to buy that game because it looked horrible, XYZ. Like, an example of a game I played this weekend is Merlin from Stefan Feld, and I remember I kind of was turned off the game. It looked, when it first came out, I looked at it just like, oh, look boring. It looks really like, fiddly and all these things. And I finally saw it on sale and I bought it, and we've really enjoyed playing it. It's a great game. But I do remember that dissonance between how I feel about it now and like the impression I had of it before I even played it. Yeah. Rob says, I used to keep a record in a document of all proto-plays, but I've been less rigorous about it this year. Mind you, less playtesting anyway. I think, yeah, and I think, there's no point being too harsh on yourself, about these things. Again, I think it's much better to like save the mental space and not for worrying about things that are kind of more important. And if you can do it, for me, I guess I've got used to it, and the app makes it easy. So yeah, I just do it. The ski game is super cool. I really hope it will get published sometime. Yeah. I was tracking in past years to Cull. If game doesn't hit the table all year and we get it to the last game night and see that on the list and still pass, it goes on the sell trade list immediately, but not doing that for 2020. Yeah, I think it's understandable this year. But no, I'm doing it a little bit. Actually, I was chatting with Treasy the other day, and I was sort of saying, okay, when we play a game, do you think you'd want to play it again? Because that for me, like if Teresa doesn't enjoy playing it with me, then I don't have as much interest in keeping the game. So definitely need to start culling. The calyxes have been outgrown. There are things like stacked on top now, so I need to probably at some point cull or think of getting things down. For general gaming, I generally check as if I'm playing as live with voice chat at least. Yeah. We've got some top 2020 from David Digby, Tehenu, which is different from the other one that was talked about earlier, Twazet Sinu. Yeah, it's the one with the obelisk, right? Tehenu. Obsession. I don't know Obsession, actually. And On Mars. Yes, I remember On Mars, a Vidal Lacerda game. I played with no pun included, actually, and with Efka and Elaine, I think when they were kind of doing some plays leading up to their review. And much like every Vidal Lacerda game ever made, it just made my head hurt. Like in a not so terrible way, but man, his games are just hard work. Like just the levels of like layers upon layers is yeah, it's just a little too much like work for me. But I appreciate the sort of the craftsmanship of it, I think. Alex, one thing I'd like to do is playtest every week in 2021 and maybe start a collaboration. So how do you kind of have what steps you might be able to do to actually be able to playtest that regularly? Are you going to have like a virtual playtesting group? Are you already part of a virtual playtesting group? I agree. Yeah, it's a great goal to have. And if you can have that kind of structure of like a group that always meets, that helps give you a schedule and like an expectation if you know other people are going to be there. If you're just relying on yourself to kind of push it, it's obviously a bit harder. And yeah, definitely start a collaboration. I mean, there's some excellent designers here in the chat, so I encourage you all to collaborate with each other. Use the stream as the pleasant background music to chat to each other and talk about what you want to make. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Zay played On Mars on Tabletop Simulator, want it so much now, and Tehenu for obvious designer-related reasons, also in my top 3 wishes. Okay, well, it looks like you should be playing with David. You've got very similar tastes. David has a rather long list of unplaced physical games due to lack of people. Yeah, that is some of the normal thing. Nicola, oh yeah, some people are, board game stats. Yeah, thanks David. That's the stats. Adele, I keep stats to add braggadocious claims about my wins. I remain silent on my losses or complain about the luck in the game. Yeah, I should add comments about like how I was robbed in this game. That it was the obvious flip of a tile which changed everything. I also don't know Obsession. Yeah, you have to tell us, David. What is Obsession? Have you said it? Have I missed it in the chat? Twatit Sinew is stuck in tier. Oh gosh, yeah, it's definitely 2020 problems. Like my game is stuck in quarantine or something, which is tricky. Yeah. Do I log if you play other people's prototypes? Yeah. So that was, I'm not sure if you used it, but I have a kind of a thing called Proto Other Designer, which is when I playtest someone else's game, I just lump them all together because I don't want to bother having to keep details of a game I might just play once. Yeah. So that's useful. The other kind of useful thing about keeping the stats in the app is it allows you also to keep track of playtesters. So if you want to thank them in the rule book, eventually down the line, which is one of the things you always, not that you forget to do, but I often don't keep very good enough records to be able to name people, and it can be a good record for that of the people who've playtested the game, which is quite nice. Alex, I've done a couple of public virtual playtesting sessions and quite a few with friends, but should be more proactive. Oh, this is for the goal of playtesting once a week. Yeah, and if you want, Alex, we have a, you're certainly, welcome to drop into the Cambridge playtesting group every now and then. We're usually kind of regularly on Tuesday evenings, although not so regular at the moment. But yeah, definitely welcome. I'm not sure if playtest in general, maybe there's a room for Playtest UK to have a more general virtual group. I'm not sure. Does anyone know who is part of the Playtest UK network if there's been more of a push as a Playtest branded kind of virtual weekly virtual event or something? So it said the Playtest groups I've tried have left me mad. There were too many times the men would talk me down or ignore me completely. I'm really sorry to hear about that. I think I will say that I don't, I mean, being a straight white male, I don't have to deal with that, which is certainly my privilege. but I also generally don't. I also don't like playtesting with complete strangers that much. And virtual is even like on top of that. I think in a normal kind of physical setting, it's a little bit different, but I think virtually there's so many other problems with the communication in a virtual setting, even if you're playing with people that you know and are friends. When you add the extra thing of people you don't know and what sounds like some really, frankly, despicable behavior. I'm sorry that you have to go through that. As I said, Playtest Cambridge is always we're always welcome to people to come and play and so feel free to, if whisper me or anybody who's interested, let me know. Get in contact, DMs, Twitter, or whisper on Twitch or whatever, and I can work out how the invites work, because right now it's all very loosely done through a Facebook message thread, because it was sort of gone off Meetup, but but it is quite tough sometimes. Sorry, I was sorry, Rob, was answering your question. When I get a laptop that can run TTS, I'll be up for playtesting. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can't believe how much Tabletop Simulator kind of like eats up you just hear the fans just go every time every time it happens. It's I have to admit, I'm getting, as I did an earlier stream which was like, don't spend money on anything, and when I was saying about starting streaming, I'm doing as cheap as possible, but I am getting a little bit to the point where I'm like, having a desktop computer which could just work for like streaming and Tabletop Simulator would be really good. So I'm not sure if I will do that, but it's tempting, very tempting. This has turned into a bit of a Q&A / chat. I hope it's okay with everybody. But if there's something in particular you'd like me to kind of like dive into, please mention that. I can, we can dive into, some prototypes or things like that. But just do let me know. I'm just enjoying, I think there's a good bunch of chatting going on. So yeah, just trying to feel the room, as this virtual space as best as I can. Robert, I try to avoid being critical of games online now, as I don't want to put people off the hobby. If I don't like a game, my tweet usually gauges the description and mechanics. If I liked it, I often say, yeah, I think that's really, I'm a bit the same. I think I've talked a little bit before about it's tricky also being a designer in the industry and being critical of a publisher or a designer that you might want to work with, or that or that you will meet later. I think offering constructive criticism or feedback, I think it is important, and it's true. There are, there's lots of different tastes, and I think being cognizant of aspects that maybe you don't like but other people could is a great way to kind of like spread the love of the hobby, hopefully. So, but yeah, I mean, it's social media. There's no one right or wrong way, I think, of doing these things. Oh, this obsession thing. Oh, hold on. Maybe I have seen this. Very slick hand magic in a sort of Jane Austen Downton Abbey world. Okay, I will have to check it out. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, definitely. But feel free. But really, do get in contact, and you'd be really welcome in the Playtest Cambridge group. Of at least you've seen me in a person. I'm not sure if you know anybody else in the group, but we're a fairly friendly bunch, hopefully, or I hope it's kind of experienced enough that we are a bit better behaved. I should hope. Rasmus says there's a bigger UK playtest group. I haven't tried that one. Yeah, I mean, there's the virtual playtesting group, which kind of Ian Brocklebank is sort of part of, who's based in the UK. It's tricky. I sign up for a few hours of my time. I feel that should say I have a basic level of interest in game design and warrant a basic level. Well, I mean, I think that's, but I think that's just general. I think etiquette of any sort of, well, any gaming table, hopefully. But I think in a designer thing, I hope with more experience with when people playtest or design games more, you realize that that it's not, there's a very specific place for playtesters, in that you're offering feedback. You're trying to help the designer make a game, but you're not supposed to be designing the game for them, if that makes sense. And I think sometimes when you're not so familiar with playtesting or not as experienced designing, it's hard to separate. I think playtesters will often want to design the game they want to play, and can sometimes be quite ardent in how they see the game and how it should be, rather than seeing that actually they should be just trying to convey what they maybe feel or see in the game, but they're not the owner or they're not trying to design the game. But yeah, it's tricky. Virtual playtesting on Monday and Thursdays, my go-to, run by Ian and Chris. Yeah, good games are scarce, but feedback is generally useful. I mean, how do you find it with playtesting people, like really random people you don't know? Like, is it difficult? I mean, do you find it has been useful for your own games? I guess would be my question. Whoops. Yeah, it's sometimes the thing scrolls and I click the wrong thing. I found online playtesting with strangers really useful. Okay, the group Gil Hover runs has been incredibly useful. Okay, great. Okay, that's good shout. And Gil is great actually. Online playtesting can be a tricky environment as you often end up testing things that are not much your kind of thing. Well, to be honest, that's also happens in physical environments as well. Yeah, I think you just get used to it, and it's like that. People are generous in giving up their time, and I'm sure I've put plenty of horrible experiences in front of people over the years. So I'm just trying to return the favor, even though it might not be what I would love to be doing. Yeah, but I have to admit that I mean, and this year obviously been way different in terms of how. But I think the other thing is just like it's much harder in a virtual group as well, because in a physical group you have that sense of like it's a real community of the same people coming together, and I think that community does evolve. People get experience in playtesting and designing, and that changes. It just becomes more professional. Like people are better at as Zate said, they get better at asking like, what are you trying to test in the game, and being sort of open and active in feedback, but at the same time not overbearing and not trying to kind of impose their will on the game. Yeah, but it's a really good question to ask. Like, what are you testing? And as a designer, that's a really good way to when you start playtesting, when you set up a playtest game, that's a really good thing to sort of like as a prelude to the game to kind of let testers in on like where is the game at, where do you think things are going to change, what are you trying to get feedback on, what are some even sort of priming people for things that you're not sure about or that you particularly would love getting feedback on that you think there are problems with. That can be really efficient. Yeah, similarly as Robert said, like what game are they trying to make? Yeah, so exactly. And playing to win and playing to test are not the same thing. No, that's a very fair point. I think, yeah, in some ways playing to test is sometimes figuring out what are the kind of like the limits and the boundaries of a design and what's possible. And even like how does it flow? And because you can play to win, but it could be incredibly difficult to get there or to understand it. But of course, in terms of testing, it's important to know like how is that user experience and things like that. Robert, also in the group, I mean players tell each other what their games are. So I avoid playtesting co-ops as not saying I'll be good at feedback. Yeah, I think that's what we've tried to do as well. And I think the online virtual group, they have like a spreadsheet which has details of the games. You can sign up to what you want to do, which is good. Recent trends have swung towards convention testing, where it's tough getting players for anything with any wait that takes over an hour. Got lots of viable excuses for not wanting to play something for 2+ hours. Yeah, I mean it's definitely true that there were certain games. I remember whenever I would go to UK Games Expo, PlayTest UK would run a playtesting stand at UK Games Expo. Over the 3 days, we'd have 100 designers probably through playtesting games. And yeah, there's definitely a specific time. And the job of as volunteers was to get members of the public sit down and play test the games. And you very quickly know which games are a lot easier to get people to sit down and play. When you say it takes 15 minutes, it's a theme that you kind of can understand. It's fun. It's not too, like this. Here's a 15-minute game about chasing bunnies versus here's a 3-hour cyberpunk dystopian RPG-inspired game. Which one's a lot easier to sell to a punter in that situation. And it's not to say that one type of game is better or the other, but yeah, you very quickly got to know what type of games were easier to get playtesters for. And so what I would always do when I was going to, for a while, I would always start a new game design about a week leading up to Expo, specifically in this kind of very short, sharp, like 20 to 30 minutes max, easy to learn kind of game, because I knew that was just easier to test and I wanted to make use of the opportunity, but I didn't know, if I didn't have a game that fit that, I would just like try to make a game that did fit it. yeah, nothing ever eventuated from it, unfortunately, that I'm thinking of that I made just before the expo. But yeah, it's interesting. I went to playtest to a playtest about rules comprehension, and the other spent 45 minutes to showing the art and graphics. I was like, sorry, but the designer said that's placeholder. Can we look at the rules there? Yeah, well, it sounds like the group that you're at was just really like, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I guess it's a bit of, you know, these online communities, much like anything. Maybe it's, you know, it's a bit of like luck of the roll about what playtesters you get, because yeah, there's just like designers, you can have very vastly different experiences as a playtester. That's sort of yeah, that sounds yeah, that sounds rough, and I would not be very happy with that either if I was part of that playtesting group. Oh, don't worry about. I do my best about reading. I think I work it out as best I can. Yeah, it sounds really tough. Yes, Rob knows. Rob also volunteers at UK Games Expo, and yeah, when you need 6 people for a 3-hour game. I mean, but that's just the constraints of the format, and I think it's reasonable. You know, I mean, I can't blame the punters, right? You know, I'm still amazed that they're generous to give up even, you know, half an hour of their time, you know, that they've spent to come, you know, maybe traveled a really long way and spending money on accommodation and everything. And they're happy to like spend 30 minutes on something that might be completely terrible, you know? So no, I don't think it's the test's fault at all. And it's just the realities of it. But we do try our best. And often there are ways to like, you know, find a way to play with 1 or 2 people, or to get half a game in or something like that. So it's yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, I would test a 3-hour game with Otacon. Exactly. Like there's just other things you want to do. It's tricky. 2-hour game that looks like Advanced Monopoly was a hard sell. I think I remember that. Yeah, I mean, it's and that's the other thing. I think I'm really glad that Playtest UK keeps doing it at UK Games Expo, and it was a pity that we couldn't do it this year in the physical space, because you realize that there are still a lot of people who are really interested in designing games but haven't had that contact with other people who are designing, or people who are used to playtesting. They haven't had that kind of feedback. That, you know, for them it's still been a very individual experience, and they aren't actually. It can be a difficult experience for them. You know, like that first time where they realize, oh, this game I thought was amazing isn't actually that original, or people aren't that interested in it. But I've definitely had some really great experiences where people have come back over multiple years. And maybe the first time they saw us at the expo, that, you know, there's the first game, their first play test with other people outside their kind of immediate family circle, and actually seeing the growth of people who really kind of embrace that and kind of get used to that community has been fantastic. So I'm really glad that it still happens. And yeah, but as I kind of rightly says, we've still got to do work to kind of help make the first experience be as positive as possible, so that people do want to keep coming back, which is tricky. I can assume Matt can translate gibberish to logically well thought out and grammatically correct commenting. Well, I'm getting better. People are still here. If I was just regurgitating gibberish, I'm sure you would all have you know, voted with your feet, as they say, long ago. Robert, yeah, I mean, you said you were going to do some proofreading, Robert. This, you know, IDEath. I mean, what is this? No, I dealt with the issue of getting people to playtest in time by asking for just 15 and 20 minutes, make it clear it's okay to drop out. Yeah, I think, and maybe it's just finding. Yeah, I think you can make use of whatever time you have. You don't always have to play the full game. Finding a way to like start it in the middle, even just explaining a concept. I remember in Cambridge, Andrew Sharon of Terrible Games, we would always joke with him that like most of his playtesting was him describing the game to us, maybe getting the game out with like the components, and we just discuss it for 20 minutes. And by then he would have actually got most of the feedback he needed. Of course, we would play his games later on, but actually even just discussing and getting kind of impact on like how do the rules sound? Are they complicated? You know, does it seem a kind of logical kind of game? Is it something you'd be interested in? That can also be really useful feedback without even playing it. Yeah, no, I really love hanging out at the playtest going. I mean, like I don't playtest anything at the UK Games Expo anymore. I'm kind of full-time helping run it with wonderful people like Rob. Yeah, so it's a different experience. which I hope I'll still be involved with. I guess if I'm living in another country, it's a different kind of ask of like, am I going to fly back to UK Games Expo every year? I hope I will, but I haven't got to that question yet, I guess. David said most of my playtest this year has been development needing full games rather than early design, which could work with Splash and Dash child test. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I guess that's where you have to kind of develop your own group. And I mean, Eric Lang always talks about that, you know, when he lived in Toronto, I mean, he's back in Toronto now, but before he moved away from Toronto and come back, you know, he had his own playtesting group where they, you know, they do pizza and they'd come around and, you know, he had 2 or 3 tables. And I mean, obviously that's a different level that most of us can ever hope for. But I have been thinking more and more that, you know, it'd be great to have like 2 or 3 or 4 testers who could come, you know, once a week to my place and, you know, just to play test my games, because yeah, it's the biggest hurdle. And having like, that's the other great thing about Playtest UK and like the group in Cambridge. It wasn't just the designers, but it's actually the quality of the playtesters, because you have these people who come back and have experience playtesting. Like that's such a valuable resource, you know, having people who are happy to, you know, who know the designer and can sort of trust that I'm happy to give over their time and they kind of know how it works. It's sort of incredibly invaluable. And yeah, the pandemic has sort of shown up even more how important it is. I think hopefully we all knew how important playtesting is, but when it's made even more difficult to get access to, then you realize just how difficult it is. Oh, glad to hear. Sorry, I'm hearing children from outside, but I think we're okay. Yeah, helps the well. No, that's very kind. But we all start somewhere, right? And I think, you know, hopefully it's just always a case to like, you know, again, I'm always struck by the board game design community. I think is fairly welcoming and pretty generous with hopefully with their advice and time, and that's how we, you know, can keep growing it. I hope. I know the children are attacking. Yeah, I don't know. It was a very odd experience. So out of my corner, I don't know if you could hear on stream, but like I just heard this child's voice. Our front door in the apartment maybe isn't as wide as I thought. Anyway, sorry, nobody's interested in that. David said, "I'm getting there via my Facebook and Discord channel." Yeah, I'm really impressed by your Discord, David. I get the alerts, and it seems to be really active. Yeah, and I heard, yeah, I see a lot of people are doing Tinner's Trail solo. Like, how did you kind of go about setting that up? Was there a particular way that you were like approaching people to be part of that kind of group or community, or were they just kind of people you already knew and you kind of formalized it in Discord server or something like that? Yeah, I miss the Cambridge group. We should actually have some sort of social event. I realized that we kind of ended the year on a bit of a slightly low note, but maybe we should just have a like 1 hour drinks or something like or something like that one evening, just to commiserate on the year. Because actually this year, to be honest, like these playtesting meetups for Cambridge, for me, like socially, it was more important than the game design side. You know, just actually getting to talk with friends or people outside my apartment, you know, just like the stream is incredibly valuable for that. So yeah, I was really happy for that opportunity. Yeah. For Zaid, I will very quickly show this Villagers game. Oh gosh, I've just opened something, but that's all right, I hope. Problem is it's going to be a bit difficult to see, but let's see how we go here. I will share my screen. Okay. So basically, you have a board in this village game. It's actually 5 by 5. This PDF is kind of cut off on the there's an extra strip off the edge, but you've got sort of 3. Oh hey, no, you're gonna welcome. A nice mug. Oh yes, you know, I'm a chemist, so I have to, you know, I think every chemist has to have this periodic table mug by design. Yeah, so each player would have a 5 by 5 map in front of them, and you have these tiles that you're going to place. This is me hoping that these tiles are, yeah, oh, that's quite an old tile. Sorry, talk amongst yourselves. Maybe this is the easiest way to see it, actually. Yeah, so you'd have a map in front of you, sort of 5x5, and there's 3 different terrains. And you start with these buildings, these tiles already on it, which generate 3 resources, and you've got your main person who's going to walk around it. And basically the game works is that you get new tiles, which you'll place. You have to match tiles to the color. Usually you'll take 3 new tiles each round, and then you essentially get to move your worker every turn, and it sort of interacts with the tiles. And the one kind of cool thing about the game, which we were trying to do. Oh, I think Rasmus. Oh yeah, see you, Rasmus. Yeah, we'll see you in cyberspace, and we'll chat soon. It would be great. And actually, one of the kind of cool things we were trying to do is that you have tiles that you interact with when you land on them, and you kind of get an action. But also that this idea of resources, like this forest up here produces wood, but you can use it no matter where you are. So you might be on another tile which needs you to consume wood, and to just consume wood, then you just flip over this tile till it's kind of its use side. And to refresh it, then you have to visit it, and then you flip it back. So it's this idea that kind of the resources were being stored in the board, but to kind of refresh them and get new resources, you have to actually visit the tiles. So it kind of does a lot of things, but in one system, where it's just you're putting tiles on board and moving around and activating them. And there's the normal, there's like a big, set of different tiles, that let you, convert resources to points, or help you move around, or give you points for certain combinations of tiles on your board, and things like that. I haven't got a really good way of kind of showing the tiles even. I'm just trying to find the tiles. Village tiles. Yeah, these are, you had tiles which, and you could also like upgrade tiles and flip them over permanently and give you points, or they might give you a better, you have a meal that could turn wheat into points, or you could upgrade it and then it would give you 2 points for every wheat, and these sort of things, and various different, lots of different tiles and things like that. So, it was a bit of an engine builder with tile, and we've been doing it for a very long time, and it's definitely hit the point where I honestly don't know if it's good enough. It's an interesting. I don't think I've ever very often come to a point where a game does work and I actually quite like it, but where I really think like, would I, if this were released, is it going to actually, is it worth it? Is it actually doing something different enough? Is it a good enough game to go to publication? Because I'm sure there's a way that I could work really hard to try and get it signed and published, but it's actually a case of actually deciding, well, what's my priority, and is this the game I want to like spend lots of time on? And I'm realizing more and more that maybe not, which is sad, because it's from this kind of era of designing, like early on in the Cambridge Group, kind of 2012, 2013, where there are quite a few projects that we worked on that I really enjoyed, and a lot have been published, but I thought we were kind of doing good work then, but didn't quite get there. But anyway, that's the Villagers game, just very, very briefly. Thanks, Nicholas. Very, very kind of you, Nicholas. Yeah, it is fun to play. It just never. Yeah, I can't. And it's also a really good example of like simplification. So we used to have this kind of like auction style where you would be bidding for which tiles you wanted, but you were bidding in terms of how many resources you get. So like if you want good choice of the tile you're going to get, you'd get fewer resources, and you'd have a whole round of like bidding for the tiles, and then you take the tiles and like put them on your board and move around. And a lot of the things we were trying to do is just to streamline it, like get rid of that extra round of bidding. Why? That's not the interesting thing. Get to the point where you just get to put tiles on your board and move. And maybe that's actually what it should be. It should go even simpler again, like that it really is just building a tableau out. There's definitely like kind of like those tableau building games with tiles with interesting abilities, something I have a lot of ideas to try it. Yeah, I'd love to make something that kind of I kind of call it the AG engine builder, sort of like the weight of like Tiny Towns or Space Base. It's a style of game that I'm really trying to actively design for, because I think AG knows exactly how to make those games. I think there's definitely an audience for them. That relatively low rules impact, a lot of replayability, fun kind of engine building mechanism. And Brett and I have a game with AG which fits these criteria, which hopefully will be released next year, which is under development. but I still want to make games in this space because I realize how much I enjoy playing them myself. And yeah, I think it's interesting. Everyone wants some rondels. These are rondels. Do you have a rondel? Can I introduce you in Scorpius Raider, which has 3 rondels? Yeah. No, I like rondels as much as the next person. Rondels make the world go round. Indeed. Yeah, but that's the game. That's Villagers basically. I automatically was thinking about stuff as well. It's like I can hear about a problem, even if it's not mine, without thinking. You can't hear about a problem without thinking about solutions. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's how we're wired as designers to constantly think about like the why and how can you fix this and what can we do about it. So no, it's good. Well, I mean, it's all open for discussion and things, and you know, I hope it can be kind of inspiration. I probably should just do like a stream which is just like a stream of ideas which I'm just throwing out to the stream, and you know, you can be your like monthly inspiration or something where I just chat about different ideas, and maybe that can be interesting for people in the stream. I'm trying to look back. I'm not sure if So Crafty's back, but I'm trying to, because I kind of forgot their question. So just in case they are watching the stream back, I can't find the comment anymore. It's a bit. Hold on. Oh, maybe I can't actually. Maybe it's now disappeared in the, or at least I can't see it in StreamYard. But anyway, David got it. Some Aussie fellow taught me at an Alicot game, and I sorted out a copy after that. Needs a solo mode. Yeah. Well, I have to show. Actually, I have the original Chocolate Factory. What Chocolate Factory looked like, even in the very first version. I wonder how old a version I have of Chocolate Factory. It probably doesn't look very interesting. I'm just sort of previewing how it looks before. Oh yeah, no, it's a completely different game. I don't know when it shifted into what Chocolate Factory started to look like after. Oh, Nicola was asking for podcasts with people just starting into it. Yeah, I mean, there was a previous stream where I sort of talked about it. There are like the board game design, lab by Gabe is like very, in terms of like volume, is very like I think Ludology is probably a great, you know, it always comes up in sort of the best game design podcasts. I really like the Game Design Roundtable, which has a bit of like a digital and tabletop flair, but I like it for that. I think it's an interesting mix of views. Building a Game podcast. Yeah, there's a bunch out there. Thanks, Rory. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time. Yeah, and Merry Christmas, everyone who's going. I guess I won't see you until it's been Christmas. I hope everyone will have a good Christmas. Actually, as I'm coming up, I realize I've probably this very, very loose hour is becoming looser and looser as it goes. But I might, I might wrap it up slowly. Alex, yes, there won't be a Friday stream, I'm afraid. Even though here in the Czech Republic they celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. That's the more important time. I think. Yeah, it was Think Like a Game Designer I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so Justin Gary, Think Like a Game Designer. Yeah, I would recommend checking it out. Yeah, so I won't be streaming on Friday, or at least I'm not planning to. I will plan to stream next Monday at the same time. And who knows, maybe I'll feel like streaming just some random time otherwise. But you know, I did a random play games thing on the weekend. I think a few of you popped by playing some GeoGuessr and things like that. So I might do a bit of that, who knows. But and also there's maybe I'll try and do something for IdleCon. So Michael Fox, Idle Michael, is sort of running this IdleCon 28th, 29th of December. Not exactly sure what it's involving, but I feel like I'll be streaming during it. So maybe I'll have Michael on the stream or something like that. And yeah, I'm still trying to think about getting some interviews or something like that going. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. But yeah, if there's any other questions, let me know. Oh, it's a big game jam. Oh yes, exactly. So maybe we can be doing a bit of game jamming next Monday, as part of it. Jay, maybe for the next stream, but do you plan out your year as a designer? That's a really great question. Maybe that should be a stream. In fact, maybe it should be the first stream of 2021. I will take a note. I'm still sort of going by the seat of my trousers at the moment, where I sort of usually it comes to the day of the stream. I'm like, what am I going to talk about today? I haven't really been being organized. But yeah, plan out on stream. Thank you for that. There's going to be jam. Yes, I hope there's going to be jam. Game jam, singing weirdness and not being alone. Indeed, everyone is very welcome. And I think, yeah, it should be some fun. Yeah, so there we go. Nicholas, I'd started to plan my year around cons and stuff, which seems sensible until the pandemic hit. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's interesting. I think maybe, yeah, it would be interesting kind of exercise to be planning a year, because you're right that the way that we think about the normal kind of like goalposts in the year have completely changed. But we know that this time, other than this next, sorry, unlike this year where we didn't know what was going to happen. Oh, thanks, Jay. That's really kind of you. Yeah, I hope it's always useful. I'm just enjoying. For me, I get a lot out of this anyway. I get to chat with excellent folks and ramble about my things. And I guess it's interesting. For a board game designer, maybe I haven't been showing my own designs very much on stream, but I'm never sure about how interesting this format is for showing off designs, because I think, with play, it's like trying to think about how a game plays by looking at the rules. It's it's only so much you can get from it, and I just never know about. I personally, I don't engage as much when I see games being described on stream, or kind of try to show off. It's sort of it's an imperfect way to do it, but maybe I'll try and think of better ways to present games and things on stream. I don't know. I guess yeah. I guess probably next week. Well, maybe next week I'm not going to be doing a look back at 2020. The only thing I kind of wanted to, no, I don't know where it is actually. No, I'll do. I missed my thoughts. Say, I mean, if Michael's Discord says anything about it's going to be. This meme will never. Someone has to come up with some sort of emote, which is guerrilla, guerrilla designer violence or whatever it is. Jay, I've convinced start streaming once to get a better functional. Yeah, no, exactly. If I can do it, anybody can. But I'm really thankful. Thanks so much, Alex, for coming by. Thanks for everything, and yeah, have a great Christmas. Very Merry Christmas to you. Yeah. So, well, anyway, I mean, I think that might do it for today in any case. So, yes, away for Christmas. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas or festive season, or however you like to celebrate, or even just merely take a break. Hope you're all safe where you are, and extend that to all your families and friends. I know it's a tough time. We're trying to work out exactly what we're going to do. I'm obviously far away from my family in Australia, and we may be having Christmas just the two of us. I'm not sure, but yeah, I hope you all are well and to have a good time. And I'll see you back on Monday, same time, same place. But check out. By the way, when I go live, are you getting a notification? Or I mean, I guess you get the email, but I don't know. Sometimes on Twitch, it sort of says this person has started streaming. But anyway, if I do a random stream, hopefully you'll hear about it. But if not, that's fine. Yes, we should make it an emote. Yes, all this guerrilla, yeah, designer-based muffled violence or whatever. Great. So yeah, Merry Christmas and see you soon. And take care. But we haven't finished, because we should think about whether there's anybody we could possibly raid. I'm just looking. Oh, Eclectic Camel is doing some streaming. Maybe we should go. Eclectic has come by once or twice to the stream, so maybe people are interested. What? Sorry. Say, I got a notice on Twitch at the top corner, and then I tell Michael to shut up and raid you. Excellent. I'm glad to have sent out agents into other people's streams to put pressure on them to stop what they're doing. But yeah, so we might go and raid Eclectic Camel and say hi in any case. But very Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a wonderful time, and until next time, see you later. Let's start a raid. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.